For centuries, the United States has been seen as a land of opportunity, a beacon of hope for people from all over the world. Millions have immigrated to America in search of a better life, fleeing war, economic hardship, or political oppression. The famous words inscribed on the Statue of Liberty, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free," symbolized a nation that welcomed those in need. But today, that vision of America is increasingly under threat. While some states have embraced immigrants, offering support and protection, others have taken a much harsher approach. Strict laws, aggressive immigration enforcement, and anti-immigrant rhetoric have created an environment in which many feel unwelcome and unsafe. In this video, we will take a deep dive into 5 U.S. states where immigrants face some of the toughest challenges. These states have passed laws that make it difficult for immigrants to live and work, have increased law enforcement crackdowns on undocumented individuals, and have political leaders who openly oppose immigration. What are these states? What kind of policies have made them so unwelcoming? And how do immigrants survive in such difficult environments? Let's find out. So let's start with our first state, which is Alabama. Alabama might not be the first state that comes to mind when people think of immigration, but for years, it has been one of the most hostile places for immigrants in the U.S. The turning point came in 2011 when Alabama passed House Bill 56, widely considered one of the most extreme anti-immigration laws in modern history. This law went beyond just targeting undocumented immigrants, it made everyday life nearly impossible for them. HB 56 required police officers to check the immigration status of anyone they suspected of being in the country illegally. This led to widespread racial profiling, with Hispanic and Latino residents, whether they were U.S. citizens or not, frequently being stopped and questioned by police. The law also included provisions that prevented undocumented immigrants from renting homes, attending public colleges, or even signing contracts. It even made it a crime for anyone to assist an undocumented immigrant in any way, meaning that churches, charities, and even medical professionals had to think twice before helping someone in need. The impact of the law was devastating. Thousands of immigrants, fearing deportation, fled the state overnight. Businesses that relied on immigrant workers, especially farms and construction companies, found themselves without employees. Crops rotted in the fields because there were no workers left to harvest them. Although parts of HB 56 were eventually overturned by the courts, Alabama has never fully reversed its tough stance on immigration. Immigrant communities in the state remain fearful, and many report experiencing discrimination and hostility. Even today, Alabama is widely considered one of the least welcoming states for immigrants in the country. Number 2. Arizona, the state that sparked a national immigration debate. Arizona has long been a battleground for immigration policy, partly because of its location along the U.S.-Mexico border. The state has a history of passing strict laws aimed at reducing the number of undocumented immigrants living there. The most infamous of these laws was Senate Bill 1070, passed in 2010. SB 1070, also known as the "Show Me Your Papers" law, was one of the most controversial immigration laws in American history. It gave police the authority to stop and question anyone they suspected of being undocumented. Critics argued that the law encouraged racial profiling, as Hispanic and Latino residents were disproportionately targeted. The law also made it a crime for undocumented immigrants to look for work in the state and allowed police to arrest anyone who could not provide proof of legal residency. The backlash against the law was immediate. Protests erupted across the country, and civil rights organizations challenged it in court. Several parts of the law were eventually struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court, but the damage had already been done. Arizona's reputation as an anti-immigrant state was cemented, and many immigrants, even those with legal status, no longer felt safe there. Although some cities in Arizona, such as Phoenix and Tucson, have tried to create more welcoming policies, the state as a whole remains one of the toughest places for immigrants to live. Number 3. Florida, a state that recently took a harder stance on immigration. Florida has a long history of immigration, particularly from Latin America and the Caribbean. Cities like Miami have been shaped by waves of Cuban, Haitian, and Venezuelan immigrants. However, despite its diverse population, Florida has recently become one of the most difficult states for immigrants. Under Governor Ron DeSantis, Florida has enacted some of the strictest immigration policies in the country. One of the most controversial laws was Senate Bill 1718, passed in 2023. This law made it illegal for businesses to hire undocumented workers and required hospitals to ask about a patient's immigration status before providing care. It also imposed harsh penalties on anyone caught transporting undocumented immigrants into the state, even if they were family members. The consequences of this law were immediate. Many undocumented immigrants left Florida, fearing deportation or legal trouble. This had a severe impact on industries like agriculture and construction, which rely heavily on immigrant labor. Farmers and business owners reported losing workers overnight, with some warning that Florida's economy would suffer as a result. Despite these economic concerns, Florida's government has continued to take a tough stance on immigration. The political climate in the state has shifted dramatically, making it one of the least welcoming places for immigrants in America today. Number 4. Texas, a state that treats immigration like a border war. Texas has always been at the center of the immigration debate. With its long border with Mexico, it has one of the highest numbers of immigrants in the country. But in recent years, Texas has taken an increasingly aggressive approach to immigration enforcement. Under Governor Greg Abbott, Texas launched Operation Lone Star, a multi-billion-dollar effort to crack down on illegal immigration. The state has deployed thousands of law enforcement officers to the border, erected miles of razor wire fencing, and even installed floating barriers in the Rio Grande to prevent migrants from crossing into the U.S. Texas has also passed laws allowing police officers to arrest undocumented immigrants and work directly with federal immigration authorities to facilitate deportations. Additionally, the state has banned sanctuary cities, local governments that refuse to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. The result: many immigrants in Texas live in constant fear. Reports of racial profiling, workplace raids, and increased deportations have made the state a difficult place for immigrants, even those with legal status. While some cities, like Austin and Houston, have pushed back against these policies, Texas remains one of the most challenging states for immigrants in the U.S. Our last state is Tennessee, a state that quietly enforces strict immigration policies. Tennessee might not be as well known for its immigration policies as states like Arizona or Texas, but it has quietly become one of the most difficult places for immigrants to live. The state has enacted laws requiring businesses to verify the immigration status of workers and has increased cooperation between local police and federal immigration authorities. One of the biggest concerns in Tennessee is the 287G program, which allows local law enforcement officers to act as federal immigration agents. Several counties in Tennessee participate in this program, leading to a rise in deportations. Immigrants in these areas report feeling unsafe, as even minor traffic violations can result in detention and potential deportation. Tennessee has also passed laws making it harder for undocumented students to access higher education and limiting public benefits for immigrants. Despite a growing immigrant population, the state remains one of the most unwelcoming places for newcomers. The future of immigration in America: the debate over immigration is far from over. As the political climate in the U.S. continues to shift, some states are doubling down on anti-immigrant policies, while others are fighting for a more inclusive future. The 5 states we discussed, Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Texas, and Tennessee, have some of the strictest immigration laws and policies in the country. For many immigrants, these states represent a harsh reality that contrasts sharply with the American dream.